Welcome everyone, Dr. Thor here. Get ready for Gnosis. Well, the world is going through massive changes right now, particularly beginning with this year because of the major changes involved with, I like to call it social. I don't like to call it political because that tends to state that somehow people have different needs and different opinions. Well, ultimately, there's only one opinion that counts, and that's the one that works for the need of the people and society in general. And I don't believe that these agendas, which people start to name their own, are different for most people, but they will make it different for them. They've done this all the time as the general public around the world loves to divide themselves into east, west, north, and south. Yeah, I live past the trash can on the east. We're a special group. Um, this is the kind of things that we run into. There's also a lot of new age rhetoric and stupidity going on because of the new social changes here, which seems to have a good blending thanks to a very strange individual who has really become the next savior as far as I'm concerned, which is Donald Trump. Now, we'll see if things work out and where he ultimately goes, but he has a chance to be the greatest president of all time because he's not going to be reelected again. He's already had this will be his second term. He's old. So the whole idea is that he doesn't have any reason to go past that. Hopefully, he's going to build a great platform for someone with similar views to come in after him. But you got to remember, this is not a massive change that everybody is interested in. We have a lot of changes now, and most of them, people like they always do a change, are going to think that this is very negative. The entire world is changing on every single basis. Okay, we have what's going on is the next revolution since the Equal Rights Amendments, particularly for non-whites and for the blacks in general, that went through this horrible time. And what happened? An awful lot of pain and suffering happens. And then when you come out the other end, everything tends to be okay. The same thing's going to happen here. So we have these next great social change going on, which is the whole sexuality issue. And the point is, we have to face the facts that we have a lot of non-traditional sexual people in this world. It could be as high as 60%, but you're guaranteed to have at least 30 to 40% what we would consider gay people. And these we have to face this, and we have to understand that we need to judge people equally, and everybody should be judged on their behavior. It's not, you should have the same rights as everyone else, and it's your behavior. So, I don't have any use for anybody. I don't find the human race should be spending their time and energy educating people on ethics, how to act right, what should you do, instead of falling into the same corruption we always have, depending upon bogus, evil religions to tell you how you're going to act. And I've never met a religious person who wasn't a bigoted person thinking they have God. You're going to hell. Isn't that what they tell you? So they're threatening you. If you don't come to my team, you're going to have, not only are you going to go to hell, you're going to burn in hell forever. None of these religions have worked, and yet they are not being disempowered. They're still growing, and as the population is, by the way. A lot of people think the population is going down. It is not. The population is still going up. In certain places, particularly European or white Anglo-Saxon countries, or in general, your Western countries, are having less births. This is countered by the bringing in of millions and millions of people, period. So the birth and the uncrowding, supposedly, that, of course, more successful countries want, is a fantasy. And world populations are going up. World diseases are going up. People are sicker than they were before. Oh, it's all turning to be very good, Archie, right? Yeah, everything's wonderful. We're going into a new age. The indigo children. All of this nonsense is not. This new age rhetoric and babble, which I find revolting, it's pretty much on the same level of listening to these born again boobs that had over 2,000 years of Jesusism. And what has it gotten us? Well, it's gotten, yeah. And of course, the Pope's dying now. I guess he made it to 88, like most people do. How can you even believe these? Certainly not doing anything. And of course, that Pope did absolutely nothing. Everybody had high hopes for this person. And basically, we've had now, he's the second Nazi Pope we've had in there. He's an Argentinian who works for the Nazis, always has, and turned in priests in Argentina that were working for freedom. Now, I believe it was 30,000 people disappeared under the, oh, was it, um, during an administration of many years ago. I'm trying, was it Perón, and so forth. And he was working, turned in priests and everything else to save his own fat, ugly skin. So all the things that go on is that we are having changes, and they're not as rapid as people think they are. Now, anybody who's smart knows what to do in these areas, and I will cover how to take care of your life. And of course, that's what manifesting science is all about, taking care of your life and being able to prosper. Now, I think after the end of all this stuff should be very, very good. But initially here, particularly the next 4 years, even we can go into as high as 12 years, is going to be one massive change after the other. But it's going to take at least 4 to 6 years for things to stable out here. We're going to have massive changes as government is finally brought down to where it should be, getting rid of thousands of worthless employees, the fat, the scum, the stink. This is, of course, going to pour hundreds of thousands and maybe even millions of people into a non-existent job market. So a lot of people are going to be hurt, just as they're being hurt right now. Businesses and government, nobody wants to do anything now. So what they're doing right now is preparing for the worst. So there's an awful lot of layoffs that are indirectly connected to what's going on in the government. So if you have any kind of contact with the government as a business, you're going to pretty much should plan on the fact that your business is going to be radically decreased. Now, building factories, roads, and putting everybody to work and housing, well, I've heard this for 50 years. All of this, even if implemented, which I don't see happening, is not going to be happening quickly. You can't build a house in a month. You can't do all these other things. You can't change everything. If we change international trade, Americans finally being straightened up from the bend over position that America's been all around the world. You know, our blood and our money is wonderful, but none of theirs. Is changing things. That includes traitorous, stinking, rotten partners like the Canadians, who claim to be our buddies and who we have basically support. They're like the bad stepchild, and they couldn't live a day without America. They don't have trade with anything else. They're basically a commonwealth of Britain, which couldn't be in worse free fall, that has no economy anyway. The only way they're going to have an economy is what they're trying to do right now. They want to start a war, so that they can pour lots of money, fake money they don't have, into the military to stimulate an economy that is basically dead. And of course, they don't want to stimulate it correctly. They don't want to have free trade bills with the United States or anything else so that they can stimulate trade. No, they don't want to do that. But of course, Britain has invaded America since the 70s and continues to send over a lot of their managing directors into our largest corporations. This is frightening because the Brits are really a scum group of people that are plain and simple out for themselves and don't really care. They'll step on everybody, as they did in the 1970s by moving into management throughout all of the United States, flooding management positions. Now, people forgot about that because you ain't that old. Basically the influx of large amounts of unskilled workers, meaning the Latins and particularly the Mexicans, didn't happen until the late 70s and into the 80s. And this is when, so we already were flooded, and all the really higher jobs are taken by these pseudo-intellectual people that hate Americans. So they're not going to do that. None of Europe has rallied around this cry that, take over your own security. You need to stop doing your fascist activities. All of Europe is fascist. There's not a single country in Europe that isn't basically Nazification. Of course, that's what the EU was all about. So the EU is all about basically Adolf Hitler's plan for Europe, and it has worked. Put everybody under the same money, control them, and then we'll do what we want with them. This is, of course, what's happened there. But we're going through these changes, but I want to make it crystal clear that if you're going to think you're going to be holding a little quartz crystal and praying to the angels, and this is going to change your life, this is nonsense. So we're going through these massive changes in everything. It's been happening, though, for the last 10 to 20 years and kind of coming to a hilt, mostly because of the fact of the governmental change, as I've mentioned. We wouldn't be talking like this at all if it wasn't for the radical talk that we hear from the Trump administration every day, where they're finding all of these. There are something like, well, I don't remember the exact numbers now. I should have written those down, but there's like 20 million extra Social Security numbers than there are people in this country. There are people that are on Social Security that are over 120 years old, 130 years old, which there are no people of that age alive today. We have so much corruption and scum in our government that it is frightening. And this is the tip of the iceberg, and this is going to be cleaned out to a large extent. But what does that mean? It means an awful lot of people are going to be hurt by this, particularly if you're a relatively new hire in government. But in general, things are going to be bad. As I said, they're not building housing. They're not doing anything. I hope all of this starts, because this will put all the unemployed to work and give them good paying jobs. We need a massive construction base of people. We need to train people in construction and how to make things, building houses, etc. All that has to be done, and all that can be done with the American unemployed that we're going to have. Where everybody's going to go that are these management and mid-management people, I have no idea, because it doesn't appear to me there's a lot of those jobs out there. But everything will shift, because as we get away from government, new business will start and people will then start hiring again. This could take 10 years. It's definitely going to take 3 or 4 years to just stabilize what's happening in government as things are cut. We'll see what happens. A lot has to be done. Troops from all over the world have to be brought home. We don't need to spend billions of dollars protecting a bunch of people that don't give a damn about America and could care less. So the whole idea is that they're not into freedom. They're into money, and they're going to take it from everybody. And of course, they have absolutely no respect. And the problem is, Americans are really dumb idiots. They go all over the world. They want to be loved. They try and be buddies with people that hate them, and they'll even work against their own people. And this particularly is the military, who generally are kiss-ass little cowards to everybody but their own people. You can't find anybody working at you won't find Americans working at the American consulate. You won't find Americans working on military bases. All of this has to change. These are American jobs for Americans, and only America spits on their own people. Now, this has been going on basically since the 50s, as we have drifted away from having any kind of nationalistic attitudes. And in general, it always amazes me how nobody wants to take care of their own backyard. They're too busy looking over the fences at other people and telling them, you should do this, you should do that, and sending people to help while you're looking over the fence while you've got grass in your own backyard that's 3 feet high. This is not going to change. And it's never changed, and it never will. People only care about greed, and they consider themselves non-Americans. That's why you hyphenate things. That's why you call yourself a African American, an Irish American, a Jewish American. No, you're an American of African. You're an American who is Jewish. No, that's a very important way when you have words like that. So this is never going to change. It never has. And I directly remember this, particularly in the 70s, throughout school and high school, how people were, nobody was pro-American. You were a dumb, stupid hillbilly redneck if you were for your own country. I always found that to be stupid. I was always for America. It just makes sense. Don't you want to build your own country up, take care of your own people? People used to say, love it or leave it. I say, love it or change it so that it should be the way it was intended to. People don't see it that way. And people don't see, if they disagree with you, they see you in a light that you should be eliminated. Whether that's, and these are all these liberal love monkeys that say they want to take care of everybody. They really don't. They don't want to pay higher taxes. They want to push it on the government. All these people who are super rich and liberal, like Richard Gere, who's now in Spain, who sold his big mansion. The bottom line is that he's not doing anything to help anybody but himself. What is he doing to build up a stronger country? Well, he wants to criticize others. It amazes me how people are upset about the fact of getting rid of people who are breaking the law and controlling your borders. How is that in any way a political issue? That's a law enforcement issue. You don't come into a country illegally and break all the laws, and we have no idea who you are. The entire world is a planet now that has no resources. There's not enough doctors. There's not enough housing. There's not enough anything. And nobody is sitting there going under massive building of housing or anything else. Nobody is doing that. So all of these people that claim they want all this stuff, well, why aren't you involved in the process of doing that? If you have no place to put people, you're going to create a huge problem. People are going to be desperate. They're already coming from countries where they're most likely most immigrants are mentally ill. They've been targeted, they've been tortured, they've been harassed, and they have their own hidden agenda, which is make money and send it back to mommy and daddy, wherever they come from. This has been going on again for 50 years. What does it all mean? Well, you have to start kind of from the top down, which is government. So, and of course, but things don't change. We're not going to get rid of all the stupid attitudes that these religious people have. They're still going to be hateful and trying to save the world outside of their own country when they have massive amounts of poverty in your own country. And this is going to go on and on as we go through with their false belief in anything. So this is, and of course, they can't wait to criticize their own people and, of course, their own other Christians. Well, of course, the born agains don't like anybody else, them stinking Catholics, them stinking Mormons, them stinking Lutherans, all the stuff that goes on with these people that are living in hate. So if you think things are changing, that everything's going to be warm and fuzzy in the future, well, you're badly mistaken. Things are going to be very rough in the next few years as people have to reposition themselves into this. But we have everything going on. We're the closest to actually having some sort of contact with extraterrestrials. This in itself could cause a massive change. I recommend people look at the great TV show out of the 80s. I think it was called Alien Nation, of what these kind of bringing in people and of different. Now we're bringing in people that are completely different. This, of course, will cause horrible racism for all the evil people out there. So these are the things that are happening. So I don't think any of that's going to happen. That is not the fact of people having problems with it, but it's the upsetting of society that would be the coup de grace on an already unstable society. And if we have new technologies and everything else, what you think this happens overnight? Changes take decades and decades to get anything. Even in this day and age where products get to market much faster, you're still looking at 5 to 10 years to get a new product out there to the world in general. So it's not what people think because you are not really thinking properly. So all these things that happen that require massive change, and it's not happening. And all over the world, it's not happening. The number one critical need on every country all over the world is a need for housing that's inexpensive or at least maybe even subsidized by government. People need a place to live. They're going to need doctors and they're going to need education. This takes trillions and trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars, and it takes many years to implement, even if you're trying to do it quickly, which I don't see happening. Certainly nobody else did it. The only people trying to cut the fat and doing things is this new administration. No one else has done it. Even with their bleeding heart attitudes of wanting to help everybody, well, where's the real help? It's just a bunch of fake money going to people that they support to make them rich. But we don't see any of that being moved out there at this time. We have energy shortages. People are sicker and sicker. You think that there's going to be major changes here, and you think this is going to happen overnight? It's certainly, there are some very optimistic things here. Hopefully Kennedy can change the poisons in our food and people will be. We have, what's coming up is we're going to have pretty much 40 to 60% of the world populations will be diabetic. 85% of the money in that's going into healthcare is going to diabetic issues. This is not a game, and it can be very dangerous with going blind, having your legs and hands cut off. Diabetes is just not watching your sugar. If you have problems, it can destroy you and your family. And this is, again, not a new, but we don't have anything, or are we pushing anything that will take care of the root cause of this? As usual, the world, and that doesn't include only the US, and many of these corporations that are pushing all these pills and who are very disreputable are basically European based companies. These are drug manufacturers that are well known and are been established in Europe. So the whole idea is we have a problem here with that. So you think anything's going to change? Is there any medications or anything else that have come out that have changed the general health care? No, none of it's happened. We don't have anything. There hasn't been really a medical breakthrough since the introduction of penicillin and antibiotics. Other things, while there may be some medicine here or there, none of this stuff is solving it. And our major problems, there are no medications to take care of diabetes, and even the control of it still very difficult, and certainly not. So the whole idea is we got to change that. We need to change our food. We need to change how we handle our soil. What did your food eat? That's a famous book out there that I would look into. What did your food eat? Because you're eating your food that eats something else, and that's around. So if you eat animals that have been fed on garbage, well, what do you think you're going to get out of it? So these are all the things, and it's not going to change easily. Why anybody would be against these things is just mind-boggling. What we need is a entire anti-corruption organization that goes out and grabs all the evil people. And secondly, we need to put a lot of these people on trial for treason. Why are you selling poisons to anybody in the world, and particularly poisons to your own people? Why did you put that additive in there that everyone knows is toxic? Why are these medications dangerous to take, etc.? We have to put people on trial for this. This is treason. And why are corporations making billions and billions of dollars and then taking that money and only paying the people of the head of the corporations who make, one of them is Boeing, which is having problems, but the president of Boeing took like $5 million in bonuses for a company that's not doing bad. They should be taking $5 million less in pay. If anybody should pay for, if they're going to get benefits, they should also pay for the fact that you have ran the company wrong. This is a problem. So don't think anything's changing. There's no little goddess or angel holding a crystal that's going to wave around the world that's going to change anything. The point is that world change has been happening for a long time. It's not new now, and it's not because of some astrological or energetic change from some society or anything else. But as I said, we have a massive change in our basically governmental structure, how it works. Where we will possibly have some sort of information will be pouring in, as it is now, with some sort of extraterrestrial information. Again, nothing really seems to come from that, as it hasn't come from that for over 70 years now. We haven't got anything from extraterrestrials. Not a single contactee has brought anything of value to the public. They have lots of stories, they write lots of books, they make lots of money, and it's totally vacuous. Billy Meier, who's been a UFO contactee for over 60 years, has brought absolutely nothing. Not a single practical item has been brought through his channel, period. Nothing. Not a special way to meditate, not how to grow crops better, not how to take care of your body and mentally and physically. No, he writes endless books on prophecies and his opinions, which are worthless. It's toilet paper writing, and that's how everybody should use it. Get a book, use it for toilet paper, and put it to the proper use that it is made for. So we go through all of that. So if you think anything of that is changing, the fact that people are more enlightened and attentive in different areas is just a complete lie. The Indigo Children is a lie. We don't have a whole bunch of higher empowered people. We don't have people that have more biophysical / psychic abilities. None of that. The whole idea is because of the internet and many other areas, there's a much larger or greater interest in everything. But what interest is it? Are any of these New Age teachings better or different? Well, not really. The great little blurb or bounce up of interest was The Secret, which is going on about 10, 15 years. This is nothing but visualization, which there's been hundreds of books on this for many years. This snuck through to an ignorant population, and this has been going on for 10 or 15 years, and what has happened with it? Nothing. That is poor manifestation technologies. Now, so the whole idea is nothing is changing, and certainly the youth of this country isn't any better than any other population that's come through. People now have the internet where they can work at home, and people that have certain talents, who are artistic or can do things, can work online, decentralizing your way of making money. This helps and hurts because now people can live everywhere, and those places that used to be nice and cheap are no longer nice and cheap because a whole bunch of people are working what we consider remotely or working through the internet where you can really live anywhere. So this is nothing new, and there certainly is not a better consciousness of people coming up. And basically, your children from any society around the world are just brainwashed from their adults, and they're certainly not doing anything different. We don't have anything in either the common or the alternative medical industry that does anything. Certainly, there are new tools out there. We don't really know how effective they are. Like I've just reviewed the EE systems, Spooky 2. We don't know how these things work. They all seem to have a large factor of greed and con connected to them. What kind of results do people get? Well, they're not being honest with you, these new age cryberries who scream around, oh, it's Tesla, it's Edison, it's from the angels, the aliens blessed us. It's the same old rhetoric, and then what it really comes down, like with the EE system, is you got to spend $5,000 and go there for 100 treatments, and maybe it'll work for you. Well, this really isn't good enough. So here we go again because of the people that claim to be the more New Agers that are just as bad, if not oftentimes worse, than the common people. So this is all pretty frightening. This is all pretty problematical with the whole thing. We have to be very careful what's going on. But things are changing. You should look at it as a wake-up call, but it's up to you individually to do that. Do you know anything about all the alternative stuff? Are you versed in supplements and herbs? Do you know about that? Are you empowering your life? The key to success is the manifesting sciences. Manifesting sciences is about empowering yourself in what you do every day. So if you're looking for work or you're trying to empower yourself biophysically because you have a disharmony, well, you've got to empower the positive energies by working through your consciousness and using amplification tools, empowering tools. If you don't have a basic system of empowering yourself, and you cannot do this yourself, things are way too, the negative energies are way too strong for you to just sit there and meditate and visualize and get the results you need. You need to move up to the next level, and that's why there's so many manifesting tools. Of course, I manufacture all of these tools from varying prices. Everybody can really afford this. You can get something that will dramatically assist you. Obviously, good tech is not super cheap. It's not, and neither is it all that expensive when you look at the cost of things. So the bottom line is to get a good manifesting unit is about half a month's rent in this day and age for something that you're going to use for the rest of your life that most probably will double and triple hundreds of times. Thousands of manifestations will come from these machines over your lifetime. And they will be critical manifestations to change your life. Now, if you allow yourself to blow in the wind, if you do very low-level stuff because you don't want to invest in things, well, that's just what happens. But the bottom line is that it's no longer you have to spend a fortune. I have products that will empower you from $50 on up, and even the books and other training materials. But of course, these aren't machines that go down to as inexpensive as 50 cents. But the bottom line is that you need to get yourself some sort of tool, some sort of instrument. And that's what they are. They're tools and instruments. You have to learn how to use, like you do with tools, you have to learn how to play that instrument, and you'll see your life dramatically increase, especially going through a time where things are going to be really bad. Everybody's going to get hurt in this economy and for many, many years to come. And it should come out where all of this becomes a great stimulus. But the bottom line is, first, cutting waste is going to be a big problem because of the fact that there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be unemployed, and a lot of people that are working with the government, which will lay people off. This is happening already. So a lot of people are going to be hurt here, and it's going to take many years to recover from this. And the people who will recover, the people who will grow and become stronger, are going to be the actual people that empower their actions. You must empower, and you must use real empowerment technologies. Don't be fooled by all the junk out there, which will take your money and leave you in a puddle of poo. Do not do that. And do not trust people out there. The manifesting industry, the alternative health industry, and even the regular health industry is fraught with corruption and evil. And they don't really care what happens to you. The manifesting industry has been taken over by a real evil group of people for many years now. So you have to be careful who you buy from. Do you know them? What are they into? This is quite shocking when we look into the part of the manifesting industry is radionics, which is loaded with the worst people on the planet. So the whole idea is that if you're going to use bad technology from a bunch of really bad people, do you think you're going to produce good from bad? No, you're going to produce bad and worse bad. Bad generates bad. So be very careful what's out there. And if you're fortunate enough to be listening to this, you're on the right track. But life is complicated and dangerous. So now's the time, people, as we go through the biggest changes ever. Hopefully our food will be cleaned up. All of this will happen. But why are we having toxic foods to begin with? Who has supported these people? And why that is not. This is a social issue. It has absolutely nothing to do with politics. So the whole idea is you're going to say, well, I'm for a corporation, so I want everybody to eat poison. Well, what's wrong with a corporation? We need new laws of ethics that why is a corporation poisoning its own people? Why are you bringing jobs out of the country? This is treason. And you are murdering people. What are we going to do about this? You have to take control of your own boat. Grab the rudder and steer it where you need to steer it. And there are those out there that can lead you into this and that are guideposts for all of it. And you have to support these people so they can continue to provide the best and finest products. And so everybody can afford things and not support people who are rotten. And that's what everybody is doing. They're supporting bad people who produce bad products, who then have bad end results, and you end up losing on every frontier. So it's really frightening what is going on in that aspect. And that has nothing to do with anything other than your own personal evilness that you are empowering by working with these people. You need to break away. You need to empower yourself with everything you do. So if you have relationships, empower them to be strong and better. You have a job, empower your job so that you have your job. So it's not just a fact of when you're seeking something. Empower yourself for higher consciousness. Empower yourself to go a higher spiritual level. These are all the things everybody overlooks. Manifesting tech is not just about making money. It's about empowering you to high levels and ultimately changing yourself, changing society, and ultimately escaping from this very negative reality, which requires a total and complete change in your consciousness. Until next time.